4,000 years ago, ancient Egyptian artisans created fabrics so fine a single square meter could weigh less than 140 grams. So delicate, you could pull an entire dress through a finger ring. In a world before industrial machinery, without synthetic materials or complex equipment, how did the Egyptians achieve what modern textile manufacturers still struggle to replicate today? The secret technology behind Egypt's legendary woven air, clothing so fine it was nearly invisible. To understand Egyptian clothing, we must start with their miracle fiber, linen. While neighboring civilizations primarily used wool, Egyptians cultivated flax along the Nile Delta. Unlike modern cultivation, Egyptian flax was hand-pulled, not cut, to preserve the full length of each fiber. After harvesting, the stalks underwent a complex process called retting, soaking in water to rot away the outer plant material while preserving the inner fibers. Then came the back-breaking work of separating the fibers through beating, hackling, and combing. Elite fabrics required elite fibers. For royal garments, artisans would select only the longest, finest strands, aligning them perfectly before spinning could even begin. Egyptians used drop spindles, essentially weighted sticks, to twist these fibers into threads. The finest threads were nearly microscopic, requiring exceptional skill and perfect environmental conditions. Egyptian spinners created threads of different qualities. Coarse threads for everyday wear and workmen's clothing, medium threads for standard garments, and the legendary royal linen, threads so fine that modern attempts to recreate them often fail even with advanced technology. This fabric, from Pharaoh Thutmose IV's funeral wrappings, contains threads with over 160 twists per inch. For comparison, a modern high-quality dress shirt might have 80. But creating the thread was just the beginning. The true technological marvel was what happened next. Unlike the vertical looms of later civilizations, Egyptian weavers primarily used horizontal ground looms, essentially a frame of wood stakes driven into the earth. This simple-looking technology was deceptively sophisticated. Warp threads, running the length of the fabric, were stretched between beams and secured with weights. Heddle rods lifted alternate threads, creating a space called a shed for the weft thread to pass through. With each pass, the weaver would use a weaving sword, a flat wooden implement, to beat the new thread firmly against the previously woven fabric, ensuring perfect tension. Elite fabrics might require multiple weavers working in synchronization, sometimes on pieces wider than a single person could manage. Egyptians mastered various weaving techniques: simple plain weaves for everyday items, complex tabby weaves for finer garments. And for the most precious ceremonial clothing, they created elaborate tapestry weaves incorporating colored threads and patterns. Look at this selvedge edge, the finished side of a woven fabric. The perfectly consistent tension tells us this wasn't worked by novices but by specialists with decades of experience. By the New Kingdom period around 1550 BCE, textile production had become highly specialized. Royal workshops included spinning areas, dyeing vats, and weaving chambers, each staffed with experts in their particular craft. So valued were master weavers that some received special burial honors normally reserved for scribes and officials. This inscription boasts that its owner created garments that pleased the god. But the technology of Egyptian textiles went far beyond just creating the fabric. The real innovation came in what they did next. Unlike modern clothing production, which relies heavily on cutting patterns from larger fabric, Egyptian garments were often woven to shape. This simple-looking tunic is actually a technological marvel. Rather than cutting and sewing pieces together, Egyptian weavers created it as a single piece on the loom with a built-in neck opening and integrated sleeves. When seams were necessary, Egyptian needleworkers created stitches so tiny and regular they're barely visible even under magnification. Archaeologists have recovered bone and copper needles with eyes so small they challenge modern threading techniques. They mastered various specialized stitches, hem stitches for edges, flat seams for joining pieces, and decorative stitches for embellishment. Some royal garments contain over 20 different stitch types in a single piece. Perhaps their most remarkable technological achievement was pleating. Using a combination of moisture, heat, pressure, and special pleating boards, Egyptians created permanent, incredibly fine pleats in linen, something modern manufacturers struggle to achieve without synthetic materials. After dampening the fabric, it would be folded over wooden pleating boards with ridged surfaces. Heavy weights were applied, and the setup left to dry in Egypt's hot climate. The result? Permanent pleats that survived even laundering. The famous Calaceris dress, worn by elite women, sometimes contained hundreds of pleats, creating a linging, revealing silhouette that looked almost like modern pleated chiffon. For royal clothing, technological innovation extended to embellishment. Faience beads were sewn onto garments using techniques that distributed weight to prevent tearing. Gold sequins were attached using a specialized double-loop stitch that's still used in couture sewing today. Recent technological analysis of Tutankhamun's garments revealed reinforcement techniques at stress points that wouldn't be invented in Europe until the 18th century. But clothing technology wasn't just about beauty and comfort. In Egypt's blistering heat, clothing innovation became a matter of survival. With temperatures regularly exceeding 40 Gidexpoa, 104 degrees, Egyptian clothing technology had to solve serious environmental challenges. Linen possesses natural properties that make it ideal for hot climates. It conducts heat away from the body 5 times more effectively than wool and absorbs up to 20% of its weight in moisture before feeling damp. The secret is in linen's structure. Its fibers are hollow, allowing air to circulate. But Egyptian weavers enhanced these natural properties through technological innovation. By precisely controlling thread counts and tension, Egyptian weavers created fabrics with different properties for different conditions. Looser weaves for extreme heat, tighter weaves for nighttime or winter months, specialized weaves for workers in different occupations. Laborers' kilts included technological adaptations for their environment. Stoneworkers had reinforced areas to protect against abrasion. Agricultural workers had specialized pleating that expanded during movement but stayed close to the body during rest. Military garments showcased technological innovation. Under their armor, Egyptian soldiers wore specialized linen garments with padded areas at chafing points and moisture-wicking panels where sweat accumulated. Perhaps the ultimate demonstration of Egyptian textile technology was in mummification. Different body parts required different fabric densities and weave structures. The wrappings of royal mummies could contain over 200 meters of linen in various specialized weaves. Even clothing maintenance involved advanced technology. Egyptians created specialized soaps from plant ash and natron. Launderers developed beating techniques that cleaned without damaging delicate fibers. And they invented starch-based sizing that restored pleats and crispness. Storage technology was equally sophisticated. Linen chests were lined with aromatic woods that repelled insects. Garments were stored with packets of dried herbs that acted as natural preservatives. Some royal garments survived for decades through these preservation techniques. When modern textile experts analyze ancient Egyptian clothing, they're consistently astonished by its technological sophistication. Some qualities of royal Egyptian linen, its translucency, durability, and hand feel, still can't be perfectly replicated even with today's most advanced manufacturing processes. Their innovations spread throughout the ancient world. The specialized looms developed in Egypt evolved into the complex draw looms of Byzantine workshops. Their pleating technology influenced Greek and Roman fashion. Even their basic fiber processing techniques remained largely unchanged until the Industrial Revolution. When a modern fashion designer creates knife-pleated chiffon or uses bias-cut fabric to create a clinging silhouette, they're employing principles discovered by Egyptian textile workers 4 millennia ago. Egyptian clothing technology reminds us that innovation isn't always about complexity. Sometimes it's about perfecting simple tools and techniques to achieve results that stand the test of time.